To truly appreciate how war and conflict affect refugee health, we need to try to imagine the context. This is East Timor, a small island nation which struggled under a brutal Indonesian regime for years. It finally earned the right to have a referendum on independence and is now an independent state. However, there was intense intimidation by paramilitary groups the weeks leading up to this referendum. And despite this, 90% of the population turned out to vote, and over 80% voted for independence. 2 days following this decisive mandate, the Indonesian army and the paramilitary groups within East Timor began a horrific campaign of violence, forcing 1/4 of the population, over 250,000 people, to flee their homes. And they killed over 20,000, all within 10 days. The Red Cross quickly moved in after the violence, and I joined the team about 3 months later. My responsibility was to run the 40-bed pediatric ward, and most of the children I saw were refugees returning home from the camps. One of the very first cases I saw was a 2-day-old baby girl, perfect in almost every way. Her father and grandmother were quite concerned as she had stopped breastfeeding and was having strange, spasm-like movements. With the help of our interpreter, I got as much information as I could, including the health of the mother and other details related to the labor and delivery. We learned that Mum was tired but otherwise well, that she was not present because she was taking care of the other 5 children in temporary housing not far away. Further, there was no trauma or fever, there was no breathing problems or other issues during the delivery. On the examination, everything was within normal. However, every time I placed my stethoscope on her chest, she would go into these spasms. I also noticed these same spasms whenever there was a loud noise, like shutting a door. So on further questioning, we learned that the father's rusty razor blade, which he had used for over a year, was used to cut the umbilical cord. This unfortunately resulted in neonatal tetanus. Even with the best treatments, the mortality for this condition is extremely high. This child did die 24 hours later, and as sad as this case is, it truly does underline the importance of prevention. The key really is to prevent the disease in the first place. Prevention involves education around hygiene and sanitation. It involves addressing the inequities within a society that lead to these conditions in the first place, as well as many other measures. We invite you to learn more about prevention and promotion of health in refugee populations by accessing our links.